Charging battery.
So hi folks, let's just remind ourselves of where we are. Welcome to family and friends, welcome to the Flying Doctor channel. I'm a doctor but not a real kind of doctor in that. Well, I am a real doctor but not a medical doctor, and I don't fly apart from on a sim, but nonetheless it's great to see people. Welcome to the Flying Doctor channel, and welcome especially to family and friends. This is very much a video that was promised, looking at what we could do around aircraft carriers. So let's just see where we are for the moment. We are in Gibraltar. Now, unfortunately, with XSplit, somebody out there can just demonstrate how to do it. XSplit won't show the cursor when I'm operating on the streaming PC itself. Don't worry about that if you're just listening and that went over your head, that's fine. But suffice to say, here we are in Gibraltar, and you can see this little spit of land that's pretty much central. If you look down the centre of the window, you'll see this little spit of land. In fact, it's got a very clear demarcation. It's got a grey loop around it, and that is Gibraltar on the southern tip of Spain. I'm not looking to give anyone a geography lesson here, but nonetheless I have found it's helpful to get a sense of perspective for where we are. And so if I just move to here, you can see it's just the very top of the map there. You can see the furthermost southern tip of Great Britain. You might just be able to make it out, but you'll certainly be able to see France. You'll certainly be able to see Spain there. And just below, just on the southernmost tip of Spain, just not far away, I mean the actual Spanish mainland goes further south, is Gibraltar. So probably worth having a quicker look just to see exactly where we are. Now here, as you can see, we're able to look a little bit more at the landmass. So there's the south of Spain, there's the north of Africa there, and in between is just on the southern tip is Gibraltar, which is significant, of course, because it gives access into both the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic, which is why one of the reasons it's of great sort of military significance itself, and why we continue to have our interests there. So just moving a little bit closer, the island itself, oh, it's not an island, it's a peninsula, is really small, and it's quite curious in a way. So the most obvious thing is the airport, and one of the most striking things is there is actually a road that runs across the runway with a set of lights, including a bus service that goes across as well, I believe. But that's certainly one of the most recognisable features in Gibraltar, and as we fly over, we'll be flying at some speed. There are three particular areas. So if you look below the runway, from right to left, you'll see firstly a little square area, green square area, and inside that another roughly sort of square area that's sort of lightly covered in sort of grey-brown. That is a particular area of Gibraltar that was developed during the Second World War to support RAF Gibraltar itself, which needed some expansion. And then if you look just to the left of that, you'll see a large patch of green, which is the cemetery. If you look left beyond that, you'll see RAF Gibraltar itself. Then very, very obvious, it's the Queen Victoria Stadium with a tartan track there, then the marina, and then we would loop round to the other side of the island where we have the naval docks themselves. So again, worth having a look because we'll be flying over in the sim at some pace. That is the Royal Naval Dockyard, that large area there that you can see enclosed by the breaker wall. So you'll be able to see that, and you might well have noticed that there's some shading here on the map. It's actually connected, just indicating that this is where we've got the extreme escarpment, you know, so it's a kind of rock that comes out of the sea at Gibraltar, which we'll see very, very clearly in itself. Just moving on, to the bottom of the island. We'll work our way around. There are some features there that are clearly identifiable, and which is really good to see. Just moving on, I thought it might be helpful to highlight how the video is made. This video has taken a little bit longer to make. It's a combination of video that's been recorded, because I found it was really difficult to fly the sim and record the video at the same time. So the first thing I want to just highlight is that we are using an MB339 simulated aircraft, but it's in a Hawk livery, and thanks to Skylizard here. And I'd want to encourage people also to have a trip over to Flightsim.to. Microsoft Flight Simulator, rather like X-Plane, is becoming more and more configurable as we speak. So that's certainly well worth a look. If you are looking and you're looking to refresh things, personalize aircraft, there's a growing number of resources out there, not just in the marketplace, but free resources beyond the marketplace as well. So you might be interested in that. One of the other things just worth looking at is just to highlight that the carrier that we're using is produced by Hard Deck Simulations. It is, I would say, this is more like a kind of mid-range beta production, but Hard Deck Simulations have done the community a real favour. It's a paid-for product. I would recommend it. I do think it's worthwhile, but it has some limitations. The developers are saying that's because of Microsoft's SDK that they're offering at the moment, which isn't giving them the functionality that they'd want. So basically what you do get, as you've seen earlier, is you get an aircraft carrier. There's actually 5 of them located around the world map. You have the ability to launch off a carrier and be arrested when you arrive at a carrier, but the tech isn't quite so developed as to give it a real sense of, say, for example, locking into the catapult in the first place. It's just an area that's also marked by graphics, and when the aircraft is in that area and you increase the throttle and take off the brake, it'll automatically catapult you. And likewise with the arrest, the arresting cables are there on the deck. I'm sure there's lots of improvements that could be made. It doesn't feel like, when you're in the sim, it doesn't feel like you're getting that kind of really kind of rapid deceleration. In fact, one of the sort of external views looks really just quite gentle. So there's some work to be done there. There aren't any PAPI landing lights or any runway lights, and there's no kind of simulation around the carrier in the same way that there is around the airports. But I'm confident that that will come in time. I think this is something that will grow. But as I say, the developer's done a really good job getting a product out to us in the first place. One or two people asking questions also about how I'm going about making the videos. I've had that before when I've done videos within X-Plane. Now the difference with X-Plane 11 is that you're able to record a flight and then play it back and then record your different views as that flight continues. Now that functionality is not available in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but there's one app that I have found that runs outside the simulator, much like the Hard Deck Simulations does, and that's called Flight Control Replay. And what that will do, it will record the course and trajectory and position of the aircraft at any one time. You set that in motion, you record wherever you want to fly, and then you're able to play it back. And what it'll do is it'll play back the route that you've taken and what you've done with the aircraft, but it will leave you free also to record views, so you can record that separately. So that's what's happened there. So the early images that you got, which look really good actually, of the carrier on the deck were from Microsoft Flight Simulations in the way that they would usually highlight an aircraft next to a runway. Whereas the video that you've got from now on, I produced myself. On the whole, I think it's worked really well. We're working just at HD. We're not working at 4K for all kinds of technical reasons. But we're working in HD, and I think on the whole the product has produced some good results. And at times, yes, you could say things appear a little bit judgery, but I think if you were in the sim for real and you'd be flying, I think your head might be bouncing around just a little bit, especially given how much we're stressing the aircraft within the simulator at the moment. So with that covered, thank you for watching. We'll move on and I'll talk us through the initial preparations on the flight deck. We'll get some more views of the sim, we'll get some kind of beautiful views of the plane and the reflections, and then I'll talk you through as we take off the tour that we're going to do. So enjoy. So here we are, folks. We're on the carrier now. I am in the MIB 339, and once again thanks to Skylizard for a fantastic job on different mock RAF livery here. As you can see, this is how the recording software is allowing me to attend to much more views than you would do if I were just looking out of the cockpit and trying to guide myself on the as to placing the aircraft near the catapult, which is just into the distance there. You'll just see. So the graphics on the carrier looks a little bit chunky, but I'm sure that can improve, and it's also come with 2 support vessels as well. As we line up, you'll see I've just spent a little bit of attention looking at the catapult mechanism and just showing the versatility, the number of views that's possible. It's important to say that, just to emphasize these 2 things, that what you don't get is you don't get a firm lock-in to the catapult mechanism here. That's the first thing. The aircraft needs to be in or around where the catapult sits. And then once you increase the throttle, when the brake's on and you take the brake on, off, the aircraft will be catapulted. But we've certainly got some opportunity for some exciting views as we go on. The second thing to note, and you'll see this from the takeoff, is that unfortunately, and I'm not sure whether this is to do with the aircraft, the simulation doesn't align the takeoff direction with the direction of the catapult and the line. So as you'll see, when we go off, we actually veer slightly to the left, whereas what should happen is that aircraft should be fully anchored into the catapult. But as I say, I think that this is a real step forward in terms of what's on offer for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just giving you some broader pictures there of the carrier. And what you'll see happen is the throttle comes down and the brakes are on, and the flaps are extended. You'll see the nose of the plane just lower slightly, and then as the brakes release, we shall be off. And I'm giving multiple views now of what these takeoffs look like. So just increasing the throttle. As you can see, the texture's not quite there at real depth for this kind of close-up work. Still gives you an idea. So off we go. Sequence there. And then looking back at the carrier in the distance. And then a view from the carrier itself. As we look at and just see, where did the plane go? Oh, there it is. It is there. I can just see it. You might have to replay it back. And so here we go. We are just journey towards Gibraltar. Now there you can see it, significant hunk of rock on the southern tip of Spain. So we're just going to fly by. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just watching the altitude, which is, I seem to remember, about 800 feet here. And we're flying also simulated at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For those who are interested out there who are doing your recordings, that's one thing that's really good about the flight simulator, is that you can keep the time of day the same, so you can rerun, and the sun's not going to be positioned in a different part of the sky. So we're just making our journey parallel with Gibraltar itself, and the rock is firmly in view. Lovely reflections there. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn left, and we're going to follow the path of the runway. So very quickly, you're going to see some of the features that I highlighted just come through. And we're going to buzz all the way around as well, keeping left, and as we circle the island. So here we go. Hold on to your hats, folk. So left-hand side, expanded part of the base from Second World War. Now part of that is a hospital. There you've got the cemetery. Up comes RAF Gibraltar itself. Victoria Stadium with the tartan track, the football pitch, and you've got the marina. And we've just come in the opposite way down runway 09. That's 90 degrees, by the way. So if you were heading in that direction, you would be heading at 90. And then I thought we might just wake up Saga. If there is anyone from Saga there, we'll buzz that. And so not bad, not the most sophisticated models of ships that have been popped in there. And then that is the naval base there. And one presumes that this part of the island is kind of populated as thus. We'll find some of the markers that were on the map earlier. It might be worth going back and zooming in, or even looking for yourself on Google Maps. So very, very sharp turn. It's a peculiar actually because it's pulling up on the horizontal to tighten the turn whilst trying to keep the plane level at the same time. And we go in for a second low level just to get another idea for the right hand side of the island. There we go. And back across the top of the naval base. We're going to just keep going straight for a moment, and then we're going to take a right hand turn and follow 90 degrees. So follow the line of the runway, and everything's going to buzz past us really, really quickly as we go in reverse order. Marina, Victoria Stadium, RAF Gibraltar, Cemetery, Hospital, and pulling up and sharply to our left. And it's an incredibly agile aircraft here in the sim. I have to remind myself this is a simulation. This is not for real. I wonder what it would feel like to do it for real. I'm going to drop down, as you'll see, to the right in a second as we get another opportunity to buzz, and you'll just see. So it's interesting. I mean, it's surprising. There's a car park there, for example, and a swimming pool. I mean, the features that you can make out are astonishing, really, and are modelled on the kind of Bing Maps data and the telemetry we have. A very sharp turn back up over the top of the rock and that forested area, and then back down again. Again, you can see some detail on the top there. And you get an idea of scale and the view that you would have from the top of the rock there. And also see the little harbour there, which is a kind of nice little addition. It gives us some nice contrast compared to the kind of military installations we have. Back down we come. Hospital and expanded military installation, cemetery, RAF Gibraltar, Queen's Stadium, Marina, and then looking out to the right. Now, as we look out to the right here, we're looking back into Spain. The border is the other side of the airport itself, and so we're now looking into Spain, and we'll make our way round. So we are very, very roughly travelling in a westerly direction now, and as I'm going to just move slightly to the south, you'll see the Strait of Gibraltar open up. And the significance here is that, of course, we have the coast of Spain on one side, and once it comes into view, you'll be able to see the coast of Africa on another. So there's Gibraltar. So we are now heading south, and we will in time be pretty much facing Africa. I may well have just put a delay in the flight so that the orientation will change slightly. But yes, there you have the coast of Africa. The thing that will help you identify it is just to the left at the top. There's a very small island. I've just moved away from it in the view now. But there's a very small island left at the top. It's not an island. It's a massive land attached to a narrower peninsula. And that is the coast of Africa. And if we think and just relate it back to the UK, okay, shift of change there. As you can see, we have changed direction. There we go, back the coast of Africa's there. But if you think about it, and you think about the distance, what we would think we're aware of between Britain and France via the channel is 20 miles. Looking at the map we looked at earlier, it seems to me that Spain and the coast of the North African continent is separated by only around about 10 miles. So it just goes to show why Gibraltar is such a significant station for us. So what I'm doing now is I'm keeping a view, you may have seen it earlier, I'm keeping a view of where the carrier is. I don't promise to have perfected carrier landings. What I actually found as I was practicing was that obviously the speed is absolutely critical, and hitting the arrest cables is critical. And for that reason, I think I've taken a very, very shallow descent onto the carrier, you'll see. But what I'm doing now is I'm just maintaining, looking at the speed. I'm trying to keep the speed low. And also, I'm just keeping a sense of where the carrier is, which I suspect is to my left at the moment. So you can see the direction we're in. We've just sort of... we're not quite west, we're just creeping sort of south as we turn around. So some nice kind of beautiful PBR textured views as we look at this hawk. Not a hawk, MIB, but very much feels like a hawk. I'd like to see a hawk in the simulator. And my guess is that if you just look very carefully, if I've been kind enough to, you'll see where the carrier is. You'll certainly see the carrier come into view, but it's whether it comes into view on the left-hand side of us. So you'll see the kind of aircraft just turning. You could just see me feathering the throttle there and keeping the speed. So the speed's about 150 knots on about 1,000 feet. The flaps are not down yet. There's also the spoiler, which, if you look at the Eurofighter, is behind the cockpit. It's like a flap of it's like a flap that comes down. The gears have been lowered now, and you could just see the carrier in front of us and to the left. If you look very carefully underneath the plane, you could just see a flap, a large flap of, well, basically metal, which is the spoiler, which is coming down and is slowing us and helps with a rapid deceleration from rapid speed. The gears down. I will have put the flaps down as well as we just come in. And again, as I've put this together, what I'm trying to do is amass a whole different set of views, so you get a real impression of what the sim offers. There's the spoiler underneath, the air brake underneath. You can just see. I may well have gone back a little bit in time there, but just to give you a view. And again, it's nice to see. I'm also using the drone functionality on the in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which really does add a sense of perspective and gives you options for different views. But it's quite fiddly to use. If you're out there and interested, I actually use a kind of a joystick, not a joystick controller, a gamepad to do that. And I could do it separately. So we're approaching the aircraft carrier now. We're aiming for the arrest cables. There we are. And you can see Gibraltar just to the right of the picture there. It's the left of us if we put ourselves in the pilot's seat. Just gently trying to feather the aircraft in. You can see the flaps are down. Closest to the fuselage itself, you can see that set of flaps coming down, and you can see the carrier now sharply coming to view. Now this will simulate what an approach might look like. Certainly, you'll see the view that we've carried out before. So this is now arriving and looking. There we go. Arrest the cables, and so that's what I was kind of saying. You don't kind of get the rapid deceleration that perhaps I was looking for. Second view here, just coming down. Perhaps not the greatest view in the world, but it gives you an idea. This is the one I particularly like. That I think does give you a faithful picture of what I've seen on video replays in real life. Looks quite good as well. And I think there's a final view that we just put in of the aircraft landing. And this particular eternal view, it just illustrates how there doesn't seem to be there's a kind of serene, slow deceleration. And it wouldn't have quite, I think, have been that. So what I'm saying is that I think it's a really good product that Hard Deck Simulations have produced. So congratulations to them. They're obviously wrestling with what the developer Microsoft is able to give them in the SDK. But I would say that there's progress to be made. But I've just found this is a really great and fun asset to have. What I need to do is go back and descend onto the deck with a proper sort of flight descent and look at that. But yeah, definitely lots of fun. And now just given an opportunity just to look round very briefly. We'll have a look round. Opportunity for more PBR views. It's amazing what switches us on. But also I thought it was interesting. There could be a lot more detail going into the carrier itself. Perhaps a lot more kind of functionality around it, people working on the deck or whatever. But what I did like is that this does give you an opportunity to look at some of the views. And so as we come round here, you can just see how close we can get to the pilot there. I think I got sort of a bit taken away. And as we come round here, I think I found this little gap and think, oh, we'll have a look and a little peek through. So suffice to say, folks, this was just a video comes to a close. So say a big hi to family and friends. It's a bit of fun for me. It's pure escapism for me, to be honest, but there's also a lot of learning involved in this because the systems are accurate. And but obviously not quite the same as sitting in a fighter jet. I have sat in a Hawk and was astonished by really how quite old it was. But suffice to say, yeah, a bit of work needs to be done. Rather kind of fixed and rectangular view there as the video comes to a close of fixed and rectangular view of the tanker. But nevertheless, great to see you, and thanks, and take care and look after yourself. Thanks for joining us, and hope you enjoyed it. And any other requests of any place in the world you want to see, because you can see that actually the sim does a fantastic job of replicating what is on the ground as it blends together the mapping data that we have, the telemetry data, and also individually crafted models itself. So thanks once again. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed the little presentation.